Eeny, meeny, miny, and mo. This one. So let's go ahead and talk about Royal Guard today. As you can see, I have quite a few of them. I'm a big fan of this character, and he's one of the most important epics to really have in your roster, just in general. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you his skills, his masteries, I'll show you the items and accessories, and then I'll show you the dungeon runs and his uses. Let's briefly go over his skills. So the basic attack has a 50% chance, when booked goes up to a 65% chance to put a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. This is pretty good because if you look at his second move, it effectively is a large AoE nuke akin to like Coldheart's third move, only this is AoE. It does damage based upon the enemy's max HP and then also does a little bit of increase in damage based upon his attack. The attack doesn't matter so much when attacking a boss, but when you're clearing through the waves, some base attack stats is quite nice for the waves. And another reason for that is because the hamstring move is based upon attack too. This can hit quite hard. I've had mine hit like 30k each and can hit 4 times, so you can hit over 100k when you're attacking a boss or something like that. And attacks 4 times the randoms. Each hit has a 75% chance when booked of placing 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Each hit also has a 60% chance, once again 75 when booked, of decreasing the target's turn meter by 25% chance. So you can effectively decrease turn meter by 100% if all of them proc. This also does a lot of damage. And then his aura is ally attack in all dungeons by 35%. This character is mostly used in dungeons, so that aura can be used on occasion. Let's briefly talk about the masteries here while I move myself out of the way. If we take a look, what I have ran is basically the offensive tree to give me as much damage as possible to large health creatures. So you're going to notice things like doing damage when I have full HP, also trying to reset the cooldown if I do more than 30% HP. This one is for clearing waves with takedown, for instance. And then I'm going to be doing more damage for each debuff on the character. That's because I use this character on Dragon, and Dragon can put a lot of poisons and weaken and stuff on him, and this can give him a little bit more damage. And then we have some critical damage there. And then you'll want this one 6% more damage when attacking with higher HP, as well as increased damage when they have lower HP. Essentially what you're doing in the offensive tree is just trying to get the takedown move to hit as hard as possible, and you're supporting that with the support tree of accuracy and increased stats from gear sets, as well as a better chance to apply your debuffs and keep them up longer with Maxed or Hexer. So that's the masteries. As we get into the gear here, I have a few different characters. I'll show you this one. What I effectively have him geared for, if you look at the stats, is as much attack as I can get. It's 4,400 with as much crit damage as possible. And then I have some crit rate, but it's not fully maxed out. You do get bonus crit rate towards the spider, as he has the strong affinity. So you get like another 15%. I do need more crit rate on him. You can also go with something like I built this one, which is a little bit more like a savage set, or this one here, which is savage set with crit damage set. There's a multiple different ways to build these characters, but you'll notice all of them I have around as much crit rate, crit damage as I can, and high of attack as possible. They're all pretty close to the same build. Now, as far as gloves, you're going to want crit damage gloves with as much crit rate as you can get, either attack percentage here or like HP to keep them alive in the waves if you don't have a reviver like Arbiter. You can either run speed boots, or I have like attack boots on him, but probably speed would be better. And I'm running like a crit damage set with crit rate, crit damage, some accuracy, and just a little bit of speed. And then this helmet here is kind of backpacking me when it comes to crit rate. So just try to get as much offensive stats on him as you can without him being terribly too slow. When it comes to accessories, really you can prioritize either trying to keep him alive with like HP and defense on the rings, but I normally just went with attack once again, and then crit damage with some accessory crit damage with resistance, accuracy, etc. If I had better, I would put it on there. This is just what I have. My gear is still limited at this point. I haven't farmed Spider that much, actually. I've been very, very lazy. And then the banner, you probably are going to want accuracy banner with attack percentage if possible. And then running speed would be nice as well. But that's just all the min-maxing stuff. So that's as far as how I have him set up. Now, when it comes to actually using him in like a dungeon, for instance, normally what he's going to be used for is 2 things. One is going to be clearing through the waves, and the second thing is going to be completely nuking the boss once you get to him. Now, the teams that I typically use, you want a defense down and a weaken. That way your Royal Guards, when you get to the boss, they can apply the maximum amount of damage from their takedown move. So what I like to run is a Royal Guard plus an Arbiter. Now, you don't have to have an Arbiter. You can have literally anyone. In fact, you can just have the Royal Guard because Royal Guard applies defense down by himself. And just having the defense down is fine. If you don't have a weaken, that's no problem. But the defense down in AoE will help him get through the waves quicker. So if you can pair him with like a Tyrell or somebody to go before him to both either give him an attack up or put a defense down on the enemies, that will help you get through the waves as well. And then by the time you get to the boss, you can see that he can do a pretty good amount of damage just using his takedown move. And he's pretty good on all bosses except really Fire Knight. I've used him in Spider because he's strong affinity there, so he gets additional crit chance as well as additional damage on strong hit. Whereas in Dragon, he's obviously useful because he clears through the waves and then nukes the dragon extremely quickly, so he's useful here as well. You can use him in the keeps, too. The keeps tend to be some of the easier content in the game, but I do actually use my Royal Guards on some of my speed farming teams when I'm farming potions, so he can be used there as well. And I also use, and let's see if this is a piece for my Painkeepers. It is, actually. It's perfect. I also use a Royal Guard in my Ice Golem teams. I always try out some new team when I'm trying, Dungeons & Dragons. I like to see what kind of crazy combinations I can come up with. Right now I'm messing around with Baron, but the Royal Guards, in the Ice Golem dungeon, if you're using them, they're pretty much always going to require a revive because when you get to the second wave, unless you're like insanely quick or reducing their turn meter or blocking their cooldowns, these guys are going to shriek and they're going to put up the reflect damage, and then eventually your Royal Guards are going to go do an AoE takedown and he's going to reflect damage and basically kill himself from the shriek unless you happen to reduce their turn meter or something like that. So for the most part, you almost always need a revive on this stage. Plus, if you have the Royal Guard somewhat squishy, which most often we're going to be going in with like crit damage, crit rate, so a lot of times they can be kind of squishy until you happen to get some, good secondary stats. They can die anyway to the boss because the Ice Golem is going to get turns off as you kill the ads, and as he gets turned off, he can typically out DPS like your Arbiter if that's all you have for heals. So you're going to need a revive. And more times than not, it's better to have some kind of like heal or debuff cleanser here. There can be a freeze that can be applied, but this isn't like an Ice Golem guide. So I'm more just going to say that Royal Guard is useful in the Ice Golem as long as you can deal with the reflect damage because he has everything you need: turn meter reduction, massive damage to the boss, wave clear, defense down, etc. So he gets the thumbs up for sure in the Ice Golem. So Royal Guards, I'm just throwing in this a random team. It's not going to beat it, but what I'm doing is I'm throwing in a team just so you can real quickly see some nuke damage. Okay, if you look at the Royal Guards, watch how much damage they do when they just have like a defense down on them. 1.1 million on this guy, and this one should do just about the same. I think maybe like 1.2 or something. One of them has slightly better gears than the other. And because of that, see there's 1.4. Because of that damage that you just watched right there, and that was before the weaken was applied, that's why people use them in Spider. Spider has the acute problem of either only being able to be bursted or slowly grinded out with like HP burn and that way of dealing damage. So you can either burst or you can grind it out. But if you're grinding it out, you need turn meter reduction, then tanky people, etc. Whereas bursting with Royal Guard, you basically just need the damage and way of applying defense down, weaken, and a way to get them to go. So this team here, with double Royal Guards, isn't the one I use. I actually end up using Cold Hearts because it's just the way my team works out. Cold Hearts end up doing it for me. But Royal Guards are an option. You can do crazy damage with them. Now, keep in mind, if you are on, let's say, like an earlier stage, okay? So if we go down to, I don't know, like let's just say like stage 12 or something, and you're like, DM, I'm having trouble, okay? Keep in mind, damage scales based upon their max HP. So if you're noticing that, hey, his is hitting over 1.4. We have pretty close to the same stats, but, I'm only doing 300K or something. Keep in mind that if you notice here, see, look, 300K on stage 12, it scales based upon the health of the enemy if you read the move. So you'll still be able to nuke through these earlier ones like I'm showing here, even the lower stages, just by overpowering it with pure damage. You don't even need like the crazy turn meter reduction, nothing. Just get the Royal Guards with some defense down, and you can just blow through it with crit damage, and you can force your way all the way up to the higher ones, which is where you'll need to kind of put the pieces together. So that's Spider with Royal Guard anyway. Just for the sake of argument, a lot of people keep asking me, hey, DM, instead of Aothar, why don't you use like Royal Guard in your comp, your unkillable comp that you've been using, right? And let me show you why, okay? If you have the unkillable comp like I have, and you go to do like your Royal Guard whatever, right? Here, watch. Here's the takedown. Watch how much damage it does. Okay, 172,000. 172,000, even if I could do it every single time in a row, is not enough damage to outdo the damage input of poisons. If Aothar applies 4 poisons of 2 dots each application of that move means it's 100k per poison. That's 400,000 damage, plus any damage that hitting 4 times would do, plus the application of Giant Slayer procs. Just the poison alone the poisons would do 2 Royal Guards takedowns worth of damage. For this reason, this is why people do not use Royal Guard, Code Hearts, things like that in either normal comps or the cheese unkillable comps that I show that do like 40 million in a key. Please subscribe for me wasting my clan boss key to show you guys that. And if you would like me to cover any other characters in kind of a similar type of conversation like I did with this one, showing where they're used, please let me know which one you would like, and please like the video, let me know you like these. I'm trying to be slightly more informative these days. I love you guys all, and I hopefully will see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.